Today I thought I would do a favourites video. I haven't done one of these in a while and it's quite nice sometimes just to sit down and talk about things that you like, and yeah, that's something that I want to do today. I've got a few different favourites, but today what I wanted to do is not so much stuff that you can buy as much as secondhand stuff. I grew up in charity shops. We learned how to hunt through charity shops for bargains and just how to stretch everything as far as we could ever since we were little. So charity shops to me are just a treasure trove of going in there and you don't know what you're going to find. And the tricky part is trying to not go in there and think, oh, I like that, and end up with a whole load of clutter, but that's a different video for an entirely different day. Today what I wanted to do is just talk about 10 things that I currently own which are secondhand, which I love. And this is going to include ones which are from charity shops, which are from Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, all that kind of stuff. How I found them and why I like them. I think it is important to just sometimes look at the things that you have and think, yeah, I like that. And especially because I'm seriously into minimalism, that's kind of the point. It's kind of deliberately surrounding yourself with things that are functional and you find beautiful. So I wanted to do a video all about that today on 10 of my favourite secondhand buys. First one is the leather couch that we have. We didn't have a couch for the first year that we were married, and I didn't have a couch when I was single and I lived alone, because I was working all the time. So if I was going to be sitting down, I was going to be lying down and sleeping. That was the extent of it. My living room was my studio, there was no couch. And when we got married, the old bed that we had, which was one of those ones which converts into a, what's the word I'm looking for, into a couch. You could fold it out into a bed, and it's one of those ones which kind of looks like a wooden pallet. That was our temporary couch, but it wasn't the most massively comfortable thing. And when we finally bought our own home, one of the things that I really wanted, especially because I had a little one on the way at the time, was I wanted a couch. I wanted to try to breastfeed and I needed somewhere that was comfortable, that I could just sit down and not hurt. And that took a while, and one of the things I was very careful with is I didn't want something which was a temporary in-between. We already had a temporary in-between, and especially with something that's as big as a couch, if you get something which just kind of, it'll do, that's a big item that later on you need to get rid of. So I wanted to wait until I found something that was definitely the couch that I wanted to hold on to until it just crumbled. And I found something a week before we moved in on Gumtree, and I remember seeing it and thinking, oh, that looks like leather. And I wanted leather because I'm from a large family, so I've seen what kids do to fabric couches and it's not pretty. I wanted leather. I wanted something that you could, you know, kids could vomit on, they could pee on. Not the best, but still better than fabric. You know, I wanted something that would take whatever was thrown at it and just wipe it off. Easy to clean, doesn't absorb smells. I just wanted a leather couch, but obviously a leather couch comes with a price tag. And I found this couch for 100 quid. And I know for a fact it was worth about £1,500, because I remember seeing the original, looking it up and thinking, oh my gosh, they're selling that for 100 quid, we need to get it now. And we drove out and it was in the middle of nowhere, in this old Tudor farmhouse, and we got it. And I adore that couch because it's the kind of thing that's not, it's soft enough, you can just sit on it and it's nice and soft, but it doesn't eat you. You know, there's some couches which are so soft, getting out of them is a struggle. It's like doing sit-ups trying to get out of it, and just, I'm not adding extra sit-ups to my day. So I love that couch. It's incredibly comfortable, and that is hands down one of my favourite secondhand buys. The next thing is the coffee table. We got this around the same time, I think, as the couch. Again, this was a Gumtree find. I was very lucky because I was kind of slipping and I was starting to think, oh, maybe I'll just get something, kind of a little cheapo pine thing that won't last very long. And pine's got a bit of a bad rap. People go, oh, pine, and for something, pine works beautifully, but not something that's likely to take a lot of abuse like a coffee table. But for some reason I was really fixated on this idea of having a coffee table. I don't know why at the time. I was probably really tired and in a lot of pain, and so my brain just fixated on a coffee table for some reason. And I nearly got the, what's it called, the Corona pine coffee table. I was this close to getting it, and then I saw this beautiful white oak coffee table on Facebook Marketplace, and what I loved about it is that it opened up and had all this storage in the middle. And I thought, great, because that's a great way for me to be able to put all the little ones' toys in there, and then I can close it and it's just out of sight, out of mind. And at the moment that system doesn't currently work. At the moment I have a basket system, but it works really well for any of the games that we want to have. So I can just put them in there, close it, easy. What I might have to do though now, because Bubba has figured out how to open it, because of course he's also figured out how to open the front door, but yeah, so now that he's figured out how to open it, he's a bit obsessed with the Monopoly game and he likes to just sprinkle the pieces everywhere. So I'm going to have to move all of the games that are currently in there somewhere else, but what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'll put all the blankets that we have for things like winter in there, but it's just such a massive amount of storage, and that's one of the things that really annoys me about a lot of coffee tables, is that they'll have these tiny little drawers on either side, and you know that there's all this space inside that's completely wasted, and it drives me nuts. I just think I didn't do 3 years of graphic design to have badly designed furniture. I was so pleased when I found this. It's exactly what I needed. It was sturdy. I did end up having to sand the whole thing down because my sister at one point came round and the whole thing was varnished, and she put down a hot coffee cafetiere and it completely warped the varnish and made it go bright yellow. So I had to sand the whole thing down, which turned my whole kitchen, because I did it in the kitchen because reasons, that was not fun to do, but I love that coffee table. It's so solid. I love that it has the 2 drawers on each side. I like that it has that secret compartment. I am a sucker for secret compartments. If you have something where you have to kind of, any secret compartments, and I'm just gonna be happy knowing that it has a secret compartment, because that's cool. So that's my second favorite secondhand item. The third one is the basket that we currently use for Potatoes toys. And like I said, originally I used the coffee table to put all of the toys in there, but after a while he needed to be able to reach them. I also didn't want him to know that he could open up the coffee table and find all his toys there, because then I wouldn't be able to hide stuff in it later on. And as it was, my mother-in-law had this big, beautiful wicker basket. And my sister makes wicker baskets. That's her specialty. She makes all these old craft items. She knows how to make them from scratch. So since I've seen her going through various qualifications, learning how to do this and all the different styles and all the different techniques, I get very picky about my wicker baskets, because I know now, unfortunately, when something is badly made when it comes to wicker, which has kind of ruined it. It's a little bit like my sister. My other sister is a seamstress, and she's pointed out so many things that now have ruined clothes for me for life, because I can't just walk into a shop and think, oh, that looks pretty. I start to look at the hem and if the things line up and the quality of the fabric, and it's ruined a certain part of life for me. But wicker baskets, this one was great. It is solid, it fits all the toys in. And what I really like is that it gives me a limit, because I know that it's too easy with little ones, because also people love to give little ones presents. We haven't bought him that much stuff, but it's the in-laws, the godparents, the aunties and the uncles. They see something and think, oh, that looks cute, and they give it to you, and it comes from a really good place, but then before you know it, you have half a room full of plushies and toys where 3 of them get used. That's it. So I like that basket because it tells me when I need to start looking at the toys and reassessing what we keep and what we donate. And also it's just so easy. Gets to the end of the day, there aren't any fiddly boxes that I have to faff around in. I just pick up the toys, throw them in the basket, I'm done, and everything looks pretty. These are kind of a temporary favourite, I guess. These I found on Facebook Marketplace. We needed more storage. It was complete blind luck. There was a builder who'd recently been ripping out units in one of the houses that he was working in, and the owners were just saying, you know, feel free to dump it in the dump, and he stuck them up on Facebook Marketplace. I saw them, I got 3 units for 30 quid, which is pretty good. They don't have doors, they don't have a top, they don't have shelves, but it's fine for the moment, they will do. I will eventually add doors and shelves, and I was happy that I got 3 units for 30 quid, so that makes me happy. This one was a recent addition because we used to have one of those standard baby baths, which at the moment is outside holding flowers, because I hate that bath. I really, really hated it, because you would pop it in the bath, or I just found that it held so much water, and at the time I was so ill I couldn't lift that without tearing a stitch. I couldn't even hold my baby for was it, a good 6 months without really injuring myself. So a bath full of water was out of the question. And this time round, I saw someone sell one of those angel baby baths, one that's kind of like a seat, but it also has mesh, so you can pop them up in the bath and just shower them, and then there's not this weight that you have to lift. And this was more me being kind of preemptive about it, because I am not as ill as I was last time, thank God, because that was impressive. But it was more, I just couldn't, there was too many bad memories attached to that old bath. It had to go, didn't care. I found a new bath for £4, and it also means it's just a little bit more practical. And I'm not going to turn down something which is a bit more practical in my life. Anything that makes my life easier, I want it. This is something that I think I mentioned on Instagram last year. At least in the UK, one of the things that's very seasonal around Christmas is you get these big kind of, well, not big, these small crates that come with oranges or satsumas or tangerines. And I really love those little crates. I've used those for so many different things, for storing some of the toys that Bubba has. Even though I store most of his toys in the basket, any of the puzzles will go separately somewhere up where he can't reach them and lose all the pieces. And they're just really, really useful. They're really nice as drawer organisers as well. And if the outside pattern annoys you, you can always paint them a different colour, which is exactly what I did. I had some leftover paint from painting this room. And it was such a small amount that I knew that if I kept that on the side, by the time I'd end up needing it on a wall, that was probably going to be dry. So I used it to paint those crates, and they are fantastic for storage because you can stack them up as well. They stack perfectly on top of each other, and they're just, I'm always excited whenever I see them at Christmas, and I actually have to be careful and think about it. It's like, no, Claire, do you actually need the extra boxes? Because most of the time I don't. Last Christmas I didn't, but the year before that I stored all of the orange boxes, and I still use them, and they're incredibly useful, and they're one of those underappreciated things that you can reuse that look really nice, especially if you paint them, and they're really useful. These were a complete accident. It was actually stuff that my sister was collecting for her wedding, let me see, a year ago? Yeah, it must have been a year ago now. And it was one of the things that she'd collected and then decided that she wasn't going to use in the decor because she did all her wedding decorations. And I saw it and I thought, oh, that would be really, really nice, because I'd been following this account on Pinterest that was showing traditional methods that people used to decorate their homes with, and some of them were things like lavender wreaths, which I'm absolutely trying this year. But another thing was where they had these baskets and they would put dried flowers and mint and sunflowers and things like that in the baskets and put them up on the wall. I saw this and I thought that would be beautiful in our bedroom, in Potato's bedroom eventually, and as it is, I only got 2 of them. So one of them's in our room and then the other one's downstairs in the hallway, but eventually, once I finished my son's room, once I finished painting it, we put the skirting boards in, we put new floorboarding in, and we filled in all the gaps in the wall because that wall got really, this house has issues, but we had to fill in a whole load of holes in the walls. That's done now. But eventually I'm going to put that flower basket in his room so that things that I need to regularly, aggressively crop back, like the peppermint, the spearmints, and the lemon balm, I can just regularly, every week, change some, put a new bunch in that basket, and it just makes the room smell nice, and I get to use something that would otherwise just get chucked away. So I really like how they look, and I like the practical purpose that they serve as well. Actually, I briefly mentioned before how many of his toys weren't ones that we bought. There are so many toys that my son has that are hand-me-downs. Either mine or most of them are toys that my husband used to play with, and they're these beautiful handcrafted toys, and it just makes me really happy looking at them because some of them, you know, my husband remembers playing with them and now he's playing with them, and it's really nice that he's playing with something that his dad played with, that sometimes his granddad made for him. His great-granddad made for him. I got that completely wrong. So, Corazon's granddad, but my son's great-granddad. One of the toys that he plays with was made by his great-granddad, and he loves that. He will charge up and down the garden with that cart for just full-on 20-40 minutes, just going up, down, up, down. He loves it. And it's just really nice. It's something that is still beautiful and functional, and he loves it. And those are definitely one of my favourites just because he loves them so much. This one I bought this, I must have bought this about 5 years ago, and it has gone through so many different uses. I've used it as a trinket dish on my bedside table. I've used it for just putting the spatula on when I'm cooking on next to the cooker. I've used it for a soap dish. I've used this thing for so much stuff, but I remember seeing it in the charity shop, and that is one of the impulse buys that I'm very happy that it was an impulse buy, because I still love it. I still love looking at it. I don't know what it is about this thing, but I like the shape of it. I like the pattern. It just, I don't know, it makes me happy. This is one of my secondhand buys and I love it. I will be very heartbroken if that ever breaks, but on the plus side, it's also one of the things I can probably find in 100 different charity shops across the country. So if it does break, hopefully it can get replaced. This was one of the things that I got, I think 3 months after we moved in. And again, it was a Gumtree find. It was quite funny. In the last 2 years, I've noticed that Facebook Marketplace, unfortunately, has taken over a lot of the traffic that Gumtree used to get. A lot of people have just moved from Gumtree to Facebook Marketplace, but I found this at the time on Gumtree. And it was just the perfect size, because we had to open up the wall between our kitchen and our living room so that the wood stove would more efficiently heat the house. I wanted something which was just slot right into the corner, and I love corner units. I am not a fan of square units in corners because it makes everything jagged. And when you put something which is designed to sit into a corner, it softens the room aesthetically, and it also just it does something to your mood. You'll notice it. If you go into a room where there's a lot of jagged edges and sharp corners, you're going to feel a little bit more tense. But if you go into a room where things are in corners, it instantly feels softer and less hostile. So I love that because it's a way more efficient use of space. I've got the first aid cabinet above it, but that wasn't secondhand, that was brand new. But this one I found on Facebook Marketplace, on Gumtree, and I've been looking for a while and I just couldn't find something, just because it was a very particular space that it needed to fill in. As it is, I ended up needing to cut it down a little bit because it needed to be able to slot over the skirting boards. I'm still annoyed I didn't cut it right. It's not quite perfect. There is a bit of a gap at the top where I cut the skirting board shape out and I just mismeasured, but it still fits into that side absolutely perfectly. I can have the fruit basket on top of there, and I can have all the other kind of random kitchen items that we don't use that often, like the yogurt maker, the sprouting jars, and it just keeps them out of the cabinets where I regularly reach for stuff, and I don't want clutter in there, because for the most part it is clutter until I need it at those certain times of year. So I like to have it away in a cupboard, and it just looks nice. It's just a really solid little unit, and I'm very, very happy. I still love that thing. I am thinking of painting it at some point. Not completely. I want to leave the pine, the top of it I think I will leave pine, and the bottom I absolutely hate painting wood. That's going to get a lot of wear and tear because it inevitably always starts to chip. If you're going to paint wood, you need to paint the areas that just don't get a lot of traffic, because otherwise within 2 months it starts to look awful, or at least I think it starts to look awful. So if I do paint it, I'm thinking I'm only going to paint the part underneath the top and then above the skirting board on that, so that you still see the natural wood, and maybe leave some of the details to show as well. But I'll give it a thought. The last thing I want to do is paint something and then change my mind, because sanding paint off wood or using a heat gun to get paint off wood is the actual devil. So I would rather wait and think about it and then hopefully make a good decision. But anyway, those are my favourite secondhand buys. I'm pretty sure that's all of them. A lot of stuff in this house is secondhand, so I might have also just completely forgotten that something was secondhand. I know that my son's cot was secondhand. There's so many things. I think all his clothes are secondhand. 90% of my wardrobe is secondhand, but I didn't include those because I wanted specifically to put things in today's video which are things that I regularly look at and think, oh, I love that. I still love that. It was such a great bargain and it's beautiful. Yeah, just a video about my favourite secondhand purchases. If you like my content and want to follow me on Patreon, that's where you can find my early content, extra content, and see the thought process behind things like my books, cover designs, videos, and artwork. You can also find me on Instagram, but the best place to follow me and make sure that all my new content is sent directly to you is through my website and the mailing list. On the top right hand corner, you put your name, the email you want your new content to be sent to, and that's it. you're done.